all eager to watch Rocky Marciano, the rising powerhouse of the heavyweight division. This is a major moment for Rocky Marciano and Harry "Kid" Matthews. Music, a strategic finish to a fight. Marciano was the hardest hitter anyone had ever seen. He was a slugger, often considered too short and too light to stand against true heavyweights. But he earned his nickname, the Brockton Blockbuster, Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano, the greatest champion in boxing history, born in Massachusetts in 1923, just 6 years before the Great Depression. Rocky came from a hard-working Italian immigrant family. His parents toiled endlessly to provide for him and his siblings. Rocky's life was the classic American dream. His first passion was baseball, and he even had a tryout with the Chicago Cubs. He also shined in football for Brockton High School, but he left school in the 10th grade to help support his family. He worked as a shoe delivery driver for the Brockton Ice and Coal Company and took on a second job digging ditches. He was just an ordinary guy, doing whatever he could to get by. A former high school football player who once tried to make it as a big league catcher, Marciano, wearing dark trunks, had short arms with a reach of just 67 inches, 8 inches shorter than Lane's 75. He was a bruiser, a brawler. His fighting style was relentless. He took a lot of hits, but he gave even more. Marciano is aiming for that knockout punch. Most of the match has been fought up close. That's exactly how Rocky wants it. His short arms are better suited for close-range combat. Boxing in this era was brutal. Fighters were underpaid by corrupt managers, and a single loss could end their careers, leaving them with nothing. They fought like their lives depended on it. After the fight, Rex Lane's friend Charlie Goldberg described Marciano's knockout punch as so powerful that it shaved Lane's front teeth down to the nubs. Music, referee Mark Kahn begins the count. It's 10, and Rex Lane is completely motionless. He's out cold. Rocky raises his right hand in victory. That's win number 36 in a row. He's climbing his way to the top. World War II erupted. Marciano did what many young American men did. He enlisted that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the United States to America. As a combat engineer, he helped build bridges and ferry soldiers across the English Channel. His training and field experience demanded courage and skill during his service. He got into a street fight, a fight that most likely didn't end well for the other guy. While serving time in military prison, he was first introduced to boxing. Once released, he stayed in the army after the war and began boxing more seriously. Unfortunately, very little documentation exists of Marciano's early fights. Only first-hand accounts remain. This is Don Turner, a legendary trainer. Marciano started late. He was 25 when he got into it. That's old. Most heavyweights are already finished by then. One of Rocky's early opponents, from his 32nd fight, was an undefeated warrior. It was this fight where Rocky truly realized how powerful his punches were. But he also took heavy damage, so much that he was rushed to the hospital. Doctors feared he might be paralyzed. His opponent, Vingo, was nearly killed. Marciano covered his medical expenses. Vingo never fought again. Marciano eventually got his chance to face the legendary Joe Louis, arguably the greatest fighter of all time. Of course, Louis was past his prime at 37. But at the time, Marciano had only been fighting for 2 years, while Louis had been in the ring since he was 17. Physically, everything was in Louis's favor. He was 26 pounds heavier and had a nearly 10-inch reach advantage. The fight was a major event, drawing a star-studded audience. General Douglas MacArthur is here, along with General John Reed Kilpatrick. To the left, J. Edgar Hoover Boone. Perfect timing. Marciano at 184 pounds. Louis, 3 inches taller, has a 9-inch reach advantage, so he wasn't a traditional boxer. His biggest weapon was his Susie Q punch. Joe Louis himself said, "Marciano doesn't fight by the book, but I felt like I got hit by the whole library tonight." Marciano fought like a street brawler. He wasn't an artist, but a tank with an iron will. Music, and he never lost. Marciano's powerful left hook sends Louis down. A warrior who made up for technical shortcomings with sheer determination. Now another left. A right. Louis collapses. Unable to get up, Marciano was known for his raw, overwhelming power. Rocky Marciano possessed something that can't be taught: pure, devastating strength. His punches weren't just hard, they were bone-crushing, and his resilience was unmatched. This was an entirely different era. The great Joe Louis was finally defeated. Watching him go out like that, it made me think about retiring earlier than I had planned. This win cemented Rocky's place in the boxing world. The time had come. Marciano would now challenge Jersey Joe Walcott for the heavyweight title. Walcott was a seasoned veteran, battle-tested and deeply respected. Applause. Leading up to the fight, Walcott dismissed Marciano as a fluke, even calling him a bum. Walcott boldly declared, "If I can't beat this bum, take my name out of the record books." Sure, he can punch, but he's got no boxing skills. I've never seen an easier target. September 1952, Philadelphia. This fight is regarded as one of the most thrilling heavyweight battles in history. For the championship of the world, Marciano, weighing in at 184 pounds. The reigning champion, Jersey Joe Walcott, at 196 pounds. Many compare Marciano to Jack Dempsey. The crowd calls him the Brockton Blockbuster, and the fight begins. One of the toughest fighters ever to step into the ring, Rocky Marciano showed the world what real toughness looks like. Many fighters crumble the moment they face serious tests, especially when they're knocked down or cut. But not Rocky. He grew even tougher when faced with adversity. At 189 pounds, he was knocked down for the first time in his career. This was the first time Marciano had ever hit the canvas. But after taking the punch, he got back up and never looked back. From that moment, he fought hard and never backed down, but Rocky's toughness went beyond just courage. He actually enjoyed it. He loved the sport, and he loved the challenge. He didn't just absorb punches. He took the best shots from Jersey Joe Walcott, punches that had knocked out other fighters. By this point in the fight, everyone agreed that Rocky had to knock Walcott out to win. All the judges had Walcott leading. Walcott had managed to twist Rocky's face into a mess, but Rocky kept coming forward. In the 13th round, Walcott was ahead on all three scorecards, 7 rounds to 5. Rocky Marciano had no choice but to knock him out to win. His corner gave him one simple message: knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. With a powerful right hand called the Suzy Q, Rocky changed the course of history. He feigned a left and then hit Walcott with a devastating right. Walcott was out. Rocky Marciano was the new heavyweight champion of the world after making a stunning comeback and knocking out Walcott. The crowd went wild, witnessing one of the greatest slugfests in boxing history. The Brockton Blockbuster was now the heavyweight champion. After the fight, Rocky gave Walcott a lot of credit. "I hit him with plenty of good punches, and he took them very well. He's a smart, durable fighter and a great champion," Marciano said. "I only hope I could be as good as him." Marciano's victory led to parades, magazine covers, and television appearances. He became a national hero and the pride of a small town in Massachusetts. When he won the heavyweight title, Rocky was 15 pounds lighter than me. Perhaps he was the first true sports television superstar after World War II. As Rocky's career took off, TV was changing the way America watched sports. And as it turned out, Rocky was a major reason most American households bought a TV in the 1950s. People wanted to watch the underdog warrior with endless heart, an iron chin, and a knockout right hand. One reporter even said, "I guess that's the end of Jersey Joe Walcott," but everyone was surprised for the next day when they read that Walcott demanded a rematch. He felt he deserved one because of the incredible fight they had just shared. Rocky Marciano, now the heavyweight champion, said, "On May 15th, I'm going to defend my title against Jersey Joe Walcott. I'm not forgetting how tough he was last time. It was a great fight, and he fought hard until the 13th round." Looking back on his career, Marciano's accomplishments are even more impressive. Many people believe he was better than Joe Frazier. In fact, I think he was. After Rocky dropped Joe in the first round, Frazier had no chance. Some people thought Joe could have gotten up, but the memory of Rocky's Suzy Q punch kept him down. The fight ended quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is 1 minute, 25 seconds of the first round. Winner by knockout, and still the world heavyweight champion, Rocky Marciano. Marciano was everywhere. He became a true people's champion. He was adored by fans all around the country. But even with all his fame, Rocky stayed humble and compassionate, giving back by raising money for charity. He even sparred with actors like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis for charity events. Rocky also visited President Eisenhower with baseball legend Joe DiMaggio. When asked about Rocky's fighting ability, DiMaggio said, "I looked at him and thought, wow, he's got short arms." But then he looked at me and said, "Don't even think about it." I asked, "How did you know what I was thinking?" He said, "I always know." While Rocky was unbeatable in the ring, only 4 men had gone the full distance with him, and Roland Las Starza was one of them. Las Starza boldly claimed he would take the title from Marciano, but Rocky wasn't worried. "He still has to prove it to me." Marciano said their rematch took place on September 20th at Yankee Stadium, a huge venue for an even bigger fight. Back then, you couldn't make it big in the world of boxing unless you conquered New York. And that's exactly what Rocky did to end their first fight. They had a close contest. But this time, Rocky came out slowly, circling to his left, and Las Starza looked like he thought he could take him down. But Marciano quickly made sure to teach him otherwise. The fight turned out to be a classic, earning the title of Ring Magaz. Rocky was relentless. He missed a left hook, but then landed a devastating right. And when people asked, who's the greatest fighter in the world, there was only one answer: Rocky Marciano, the undefeated champion. Rocky Marciano, the undefeated heavyweight champion, paid a high price for his success. He suffered severe injuries, including bone damage and broken blood vessels in his arms. At one point, he had a major arm injury that required surgery. He had to sell everything he owned just to cover medical costs, and for a while, he couldn't move his arm at all. But his dedication to boxing didn't stop there. Marciano trained in New York to defend his world heavyweight title, and he became legendary for his relentless work ethic. Every day, he ran 15 miles in combat boots, pushing his body past the limits most athletes couldn't imagine. He was known for his hard work, and no one doubted his level of conditioning. People often said he was the most fit fighter they'd ever seen. His training camp lasted an incredible 8 months. Rocky's next challenge came when he fought Ezzard Charles for the second time at Yankee Stadium. Charles, a former champion, was an all-time great, but he couldn't keep up with Marciano's relentless style. Rocky dominated the fight, landing some brutal right-hand punches. But during the match, Marciano suffered a severe cut on his nose. It was split in two. His team covered it up with a heavy bandage, but the situation was dire. They warned him they might have to stop the fight if it got any worse. But Rocky wasn't ready to lose, with his nose badly damaged and the clock ticking. Marciano knew the only way to keep his title was by knocking out Charles. And that's exactly what he did, delivering one of his most iconic knockouts. Rocky proved once again that when the odds were against him, he could rise to the challenge and defend his crown afterward. Marciano was surrounded by cheering fans, still the heavyweight champion. He wouldn't fight again for 6 months due to the injury, which was rare for a fighter like him. But when he returned, it was against the British champion, and he took the fight to Ezzard Stadium in San Francisco. Marciano was at the peak of his career, weighing in at 189 pounds. Ready to defend his title again, the fight didn't last long. Rocky was relentless, and when the referee stepped in to stop the fight, it was clear Marciano had delivered yet another beatdown. He retained his title with ease, proving once again that no one could take it from him. Rocky's final fight came against the legendary Archie Moore, who claimed that Marciano was scared to face him. Moore had taken out ads in newspapers, calling Rocky all hype and saying that he was a real fighter. But Rocky wasn't scared. He was about to show the world just what kind of champion he was. The fight took place on September 20th, 1955, at Yankee Stadium. From the very start, Moore hit Marciano with some powerful counterpunches, and it looked like the champion might be in trouble. In the second round, Moore landed a massive right hand that rocked Marciano. For a moment, it seemed like Rocky might be down for the count. But he quickly shook it off, got back on his feet, and went on the attack. Marciano continued to press forward with his relentless style, landing punch after punch. By the 9th round, Moore couldn't take it anymore. The referee stopped the fight, and Marciano had won by knockout. He remained the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world. After that fight, Marciano waited 7 months before announcing his retirement. He left the sport on top, undefeated, with a record that no one could match. At just 31 years old, Rocky walked away from boxing, something most fighters could never do. He was the only heavyweight champion to retire undefeated. "I feel perfect," he said. "I'm going to start playing golf soon." Marciano's career had been incredible, and he was proud of what he'd accomplished. He was respected not just for his boxing skill, but for his character. His friend, Joe DiMaggio, once said, "I'm proud to have been Rocky Marciano's friend." He was a great man in many ways. Sadly, Rocky's life was cut short. On August 31st, 1969, he boarded a small plane for a flight. The weather turned unexpectedly, and the pilot was forced to make an emergency landing. The plane crashed, and Rocky Marciano, along with the 2 others aboard, lost their lives. He was just 1 day away from turning 46 years old when Marciano's funeral took place. The great Joe Louis kissed his coffin and wept. Louis, one of the greatest boxers of all time, knew how much Marciano had accomplished. With 49 wins in 49 fights, 43 of them by knockout, Rocky Marciano left behind a legacy that would never be surpassed. The Brockton Blockbuster will always be remembered as one of the greatest to ever fight. His undefeated record and powerful punches made him a legend, and his story continues to inspire fighters today.